Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest edition of the Players NIL Industry Insider Podcast and my special guest today, Mike Cline. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Mike, you are the founder of Postseason NIL, and we have not met before. We have connected through LinkedIn. I think one of the great mediums to meet people and to interact and to learn out there. And I saw some of your comments and some of the things that you posted. I invited you on the podcast because number one, I wanted to learn. And I thought typically if I have an interest, there may be others that have an interest. But before we get into your professional endeavors today, I try to make it a little personal, Mike. Tell me a little bit about your background, specifically as it relates to sports. I think you played football in college. Tell me a little bit about your childhood growing up, the sports you played, the people that you admired, and maybe influenced your life.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you for having me on. And, I welcome the opportunities to talk about the current space with the NIL and with the transfer portal and the different things that are impacting the not only the college players in general, but specifically the college football players. And so my background is, I grew up in Arkansas, high school All-American, recruited, going through a lot of the same things that the current players are going through. Came from a very economically depressed area. Family was poor. So I'm that college football player that's being recruited. And the majority, 90% of my high school classmates went to work. They did not go to college. They were not preparing us for college. They were preparing us to go to work. And that's what they did. And so when this opportunity came through my football talents, I had to prepare myself for college. So I had to, get on a different schedule. Not only athletically, but educationally, and get ready to go into that environment and excel and stick around long enough to see if the football would take me to the next level. So I know firsthand what the guys are going through and what their ambitions are, what their fears are, and also a lot of the trappings that are there for them. So I played high school. I was recruited by Division I, a lot of the larger schools, and I chose to go to Arkansas State to stay close to home. And it was a good decision for me, the coach that I wanted to be around, all of those things just factored in, and I made the decision. At that time, there wasn't an NIL piece to it. So it was more, making sure that your family was able to get to the games. You were close enough and they can get there, and realizing, their condition and understanding who all the people were that got you to that point. I was able to realize very early that when those schools recruit us, they recruit us because we are good enough now, right? They'll come in and they'll teach us some plays, but they don't really create the athlete. They recruit the athlete. And when you get to the next level, professional level, it's even less development. It's really about, can you run this play? Can you execute? Can you do this thing over and over and over at a high level and against the best talent in the country? And so, during my college career, I was able to excel, make All-American, get drafted. I graduated on time. I was commissioned in the ROTC as a second lieutenant. So I came out with some options, right? And I'm one of those anomalies. And I see a lot of my teammates that they didn't have those things, and they ended up going right back home, right back to the bedroom they left 4 or 5 years earlier. And they went right back to that same household, that same bedroom, broken, injured, no money, no direction, no support. And so they had to go and start over. And most of them ended up going and asked their classmate that they graduated high school with that went straight to work. And now they've been working there 4 or 5 years and they're frontline manager, and they go back and ask them for a job. And they've been at a university for 4 years and generating millions of dollars, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. And they come back with nothing, no kind of severance, no kind of transition fund or plan. And so that bothered me seeing it. I was fortunate enough that I did have my commission, and I was doing reserve duty in the off season, played professionally in season. Had my degree in finance, so I was able to understand financing and did pretty well with my money. Was able to grow it, but I saw my teammates floundering and suffering because they just didn't have that support back home in that direction, and so it took them years to try to acclimate themselves to how to create a living and support their families and transition some of the skill sets that they had acquired from football to maybe help them in their work life. As that progressed, and then I got kids, and my two sons now are playing football, and we're coming up through the Pee Wee ranks and junior high and high school, and and you have the kids have their aspirations, and as I'm teaching my kids, you can see at Pee Wee who will and will not play high school, right? If you're in the business, and so you have a pretty good shot, and then you can see starting at high school who has a shot at college, and so you can kind of see who's going to continue through the process, and so you try to get them ready. But I just saw that there was some opportunity that the schools could do a lot better in trying to prepare them for life after football, a lot better in supporting them. Just sitting them home at the end of the game and telling them thanks a lot, they're not prepared. And that associate arts degree without great communication skills or someone to hire them and mentor them into those professions don't do them much good.
Yeah.
So that started me on my quest to say we can do better. And then
hold on, Mike,
yeah.
Mike, hold on. Let's keep the answers to the questions, okay?
Sure.
First of all, you've got a coworker joined us. Why don't you introduce her?
Okay, so we have JD that's on. She's our specialist and consultant on our digital and electronic communications, and she does a great job of making sure that we're able to securely communicate and get information out and receive information. So I wanted her to be on and introduce her. She's doing such a great job for us.
JD, nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike is actually Jade. But it's okay. So yes, I found out about what was going on. I also have collegiate athletes, and I have younger kids. I have a couple sons that are playing college ball, and when I was informed of what Mike was doing, I said definitely we need to hop on, see how we can automate some of these systems, make sure that the platform is secure, make sure we have up-to-date technology when dealing with the athletes to ensure that the data coming in is secure, the data going out is secure, and once everything is finalized, there's no issues that are technology based, and we're not working on some antiquated systems. So that's pretty much where I come in, and I have loved working with Mike through this entire process, and we're just really excited to be a part of this program in general.
Great. Well, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for that.
Nice to meet you as well.
And Mike, thank you for your background. And
Sure.
One of the principles of our business is how do you use athletics to better your life, right?
Right.
And so
Yes.
You're a shining example of that, as many people are. But as to your point, there's a lot of people that unfortunately, for various reasons, haven't been able to take advantage of that. And that's kind of my mission, is trying to help empower young people with this incredible opportunity, because unfortunately, Mike, you and I probably played quite a while ago,
Yes.
and the world has changed, right? And so
Yes.
we celebrate athletes at a different level today because of social media, because of ESPN and all of these networks. Every game's on television, every game's streamed. So athletes are celebrated at an even higher level. So the opportunity to take advantage of that is even greater, in my opinion. And then when our career is over, the second principle of my business is how do you use athletics to better the lives of the people around you? How do you make a difference, right? And I think that's what you're trying to do here. So let me go back and just answer this for me. What is postseason NIL?
Postseason NIL is our effort to have the players get better compensated for their services after the season. So we want to emphasize that the players and their scholarships are for 12 games, right? That's their season. That's what their scholarship, their contract is for. After those 12 games, the NCAA recognized the games as exhibition, right? And so they encourage strongly for these players to be in those games, but they don't share any of the compensation with them, like $600, right? When the games make 10 million, 18 million, 27 million, 40 million. So postseason NIL is just to inform the players that your obligation under your scholarship ends, and that's why the NCAA's involvement and oversight of it ends at the same time. From that point on, you are able to negotiate, and you should negotiate, and you should participate in the financial rewards of extending your season, extending the use of your body, the breakdown of your body, and also the entertainment and revenue that you generate from being out on the field.
Won't that be taken care of in the revenue sharing model that starts in August 2025?
No. So there's two things on that, and they're trying to gloss it over as it will be taken care of, but it really isn't. It's really broken out, and it's a little detailed. But just to say, they have to now, their job is to get these players to turn back over their NIL rights that they just received from the Supreme Court in 2021. They want them to give it back to them so that they can continue to exploit their NIL images via their broadcast and telecast. And we're telling them, no, there's no reason to do that. These pennies that they're offering, the 20 million spread out over all their programs going forward does not adequately address the amount of revenue that the football players themselves generate in postseason alone.
Right. Well, since 21, they are being compensated. They are going to get revenue sharing next year at a higher level from those schools that opt in. I just saw that I think it was Ohio State had a $230 million football operation budget last year, something like that. But those are the outliers. What about the mid-major schools or even the Power Four schools that are operating in a deficit financially? Where's that money going to come from, and how does that work?
Right. So let's break that out and really understand what we're talking about. It's kind of the same as when they refer, anytime you hear them refer to football players as kids, they're talking about money and revenue. They're kids. Anytime you hear them refer to them as men, grown men, they're in trouble. They've done something and now they're in trouble. So now they're men. So let's just keep that in the back of your head when we're talking. When they talk about revenue and being in deficits and struggling, they're talking about the athletic department. They're not talking about their football program or their men's basketball program. And when these schools bring that money in and immediately dump it into that bucket of athletic department, sure, there's issues because they got to support 20 other sports, 40 other sports, other departments, other pet projects, build outs, refurbishing. So yes, and if people would follow it, it's amazing that every year they are right there within 5% of their budget, right? So it's always on the edge. And regardless of how massive the budget grows or how much it shrinks, they're right there every time. Colorado's a good example. Massive explosion in their revenue. Their expenses are keeping right up with it within 5%. So I don't get involved in that. I'm very specific, very linear to the football players. And the football players are generating enough revenue that they can still share with their universities a large portion, but they should be getting more and not get it diluted after they, turned it into the athletic department's budget, because they basically just suck everything out of it and leave them with nothing. And then they cry that they have no money when the football players, are 80 to 90% of the budget that they're representing.
Yeah, so I get that, and it's an argument that I've heard. So the counter argument that I hear is number one, I agree that most schools spend every dime that they make, right? So they're not really investing in their future. But if they are to share at a greater level, whatever that is, the revenue, that does take money out of that bucket of the 20 other programs in the school. Is that correct?
No, because it doesn't go into the bucket, right? They fit. Everyone wants to talk about it as a takeaway, but it's not. It's that they're still giving to the bucket, right? They're just giving to themselves first. Right now, they give themselves 0 and give the bucket 100%. We don't teach our kids that. No one in America does. We don't live by that. We live by
the bucket is finite, right? Whatever that revenue stream is, if you carve out a new line item in the budget and it's greater than it was before, something else has to give. The non-revenue sports, for instance. Is that a fair argument against what you're saying?
No, it's not a new line item. The line item has been there on every profit and expense form since they made it. Line item.
But the amount's going to change though. If you revenue share at a greater level,
right,
it's going to take away from somewhere. Is that correct?
No. I mean, you can say it that way, but no, it's not a takeaway. They're still going to give, right? And they're going to give so that they can do what they want to do with it, but they're just going to pay themselves first. The players need to get their money before it goes in. They're giving all of the regular season, all of the postseason, but what they have to do is say, we want ours to come out first, and then we'll share with the school, and then the school do what they need to do from there. Okay. So I just don't want to subscribe. You know, I never argued with people years ago when they would say, when they disagree about paying the players, I would say, I agree, we shouldn't pay the players. And I still agree, you shouldn't pay them, right? Don't pay the players, but you should definitely increase their compensation, because they've been compensated the entire time. They didn't call it pay. But so if you don't want to pay them, don't pay them, but you should definitely better compensate them. Now, you go figure out how you want to word that to yourself. So when we talk now about, is it going to take away? No, it's not take away until it's given. So they're not taking away. They're saying, we're creating this. You pay everyone else, do the parking attendants, do the hot dog vendors, do the referees and everyone, do they take away from the other departments when they get paid for their services at a game? It's not looked at the same way. Put the players in the same boat. They are an expense to that revenue. Pay them, take the revenue, and then go do what you want to do. And until you start saying that everyone else is taken away from the budgets and the other departments and kids, don't say it about the players, because they're in the same position as all the other people that are getting paid for that revenue generation.
How does Title IX affect this mindset?
I'm sorry?
How does Title IX affect this mindset?
It does not. It does not, because, as I said, they still have that issue, but that's the school's issue. That's not these football players' issue. The football players, when they get theirs off the top, they are not subject to that, right? And legally, they're not. The schools still have to spend the rest of that money that they're getting from these players, and they have to worry about Title IX, but that is not some indigent football player, 18-year-old's responsibility or concern.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So
I'm listening to your argument, and I hear you. So how are you going to implement this, postseason NIL program? What are the mechanics? What are you doing to try and bring awareness? What are the next steps?
Well, here's the breaking news that you're going to get, Mark, and you're going to get it prior to us going on the national networks and also on the other social media networks. So we have enlisted our new partners to basically represent us in this House versus NCAA, and we're going to formally object to the amounts and disproportionate amounts of revenue that they're taking from football to pay the damages and to finance the settlement amount. Basically the going forward is disproportionately coming from football. And so we are going to formally represent them. Our firm is going to be the White, Handler, and Cornwell out of Boca Raton, Florida, and the Pope, McClamley, Kilmacker, out of Atlanta that handled the NFL concussion settlement. So they're going to represent our players to the judge in California on the House case to let her know that we officially object to this agreement because it's disproportionately taking revenue and diluting the football players' revenue and portion of that settlement. And going forward, it's disproportionately taking from the football revenue to pay the other sports and athletes. So
you're taking this initiative on and representing football players as a whole, not individual athletes or individual
individual.
groups.
Yes. Only as a group and only football. And so and what we're saying is that, and if you go and do the math and look at how they're breaking this out, all of this is being funded and financed by the football. Right. They and basically the losing defendant, the schools and the conferences are basically taking the payments from their winning plaintiffs to pay their damages and to pay their settlement. So
as always, the lawyers get paid. Mike, when you talk about this program, and I think I think you're probably representing the opinion of many people that football is the revenue generator and probably gets a disproportionate unfair shake. But when you talk about this with school administrators, what's the pushback? What is their excuse? What is the reason that they can't do what you're asking them to do?
The same thing you're saying. They immediately go to their athletic budget problems, athletic department budget. And I say the same thing that I'm saying to you. That is not the responsibility or the concern of a poor 18, 19-year-old that don't have enough money right now, right? And their families are struggling. And it's time for them to understand that you got to think about you and your family and your future. And right now, with what we won in 2021 and what we've won in 2023 with the Tennessee and Virginia federal judgments, is that you have the ability now that you don't have to try to just struggle to get to pro. You can make enough here to be able to transition out and to be able to take care of your family right now and yourself financially, where you're not beholding and having to put up with things that they've been putting up with in order to stay there because they've been treated in the manner of which they are, that they were totally dependent on those coaches and those schools for everything, for food, housing, everything. And when they go from that, they go to zero. And that's not the case anymore. And that's why coaches are getting out and they need to get out. If you can't deal with guys that have some type of financial resource or access, and they're not indigent and just totally dependent on you where you can treat them however, then yes, time to go. That system is done. It's broken. It's old. It's discarded, and it's been proven to be antitrust and illegal. And as Kavanaugh said, couldn't be used in any other industry in America. And I've known it for years. And I've been saying, and people told me I was being a little too aggressive and too hard. But the big thing is that we've gotten two of the prominent, preeminent class action firms that listened to me, listened to my argument, and said, Mike, we agree with you. We'll take this on. We're going to take it on a contingency basis, meaning they're going to invest their thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in labor and expertise into this because they feel that we have a case that we can win it. We need these players to sign up and to get on board and get represented because we are on the side of right. And it's time to do it, and we got to do it right now. We're definitely under a time crunch with getting our objections into Judge Wilkins, and then to further explain our position before the April 7th decision.
Last question I have. Thank you for that, and I wish you well with this new initiative. Last question I have: should athletes be represented as a collective bargaining unit? In other words, should they be employees?
No, not the football and basketball. So the other thing about postseason NIL and the American Athlete Foundation, we do not support or we're not endorsing or pushing for them to become unions. We're not endorsing or pushing for them to become employees, right? We're not trying to create collective bargaining, and we're not trying to create unions, right? We want to do a group action. We want to represent them as plaintiffs that they are being disproportionately, their funds are being disproportionately used, and it's very clear, it's very obvious, and that more needs to go towards them prior to it getting into the athletic department's budget, where it is just diluted down to nothing. Even this 20 million dilutes their contribution down to around 4.6% of what they bring in, which is just exploitation, right? It's no better, and they're asking them for that measly sum to give their rights back up to them in perpetuity, and it just doesn't make sense. But if the players don't hear it and understand that they legally they have a position, they have a voice, that they do not have to accept that they can do better. And there's people out here that's pushing for a better solution, and we have a better plan. Our plan will allow them to start receiving all those things that they think they want as an employee. But as an employee, they would lose so much on their revenue. They would give them the lowest, they would give them cafeteria wages, right? For being out there on the football field, risking injury, risking death, risking everything for nothing. So no, you don't want to be an employee, right? We can get you the same benefits. If we get your money out off the top, we can give you the same benefits and better benefits: 401k, 529, extended education, the ability to make and earn enough where when you come out, you have a year, 2 years to transition to go pick up a skill or certification. These are all things that these schools can do now, but they don't. They choose not to. They know it's needed. They know who they're recruiting when they come to our poor homes, right? And they sit in our living rooms. They know the condition that we're coming from, and they take it and they exploit it for their own benefit, take them hundreds and thousands of miles away and exploit it for 4 or 5 years and then send them back with nothing. And that's just unacceptable. And we can do better. And we have the team in place to do better. Postseason NIL, we have, 2 of the preeminent firms that have taken on the NFL. They've won. They won the concussion case, the settlement, $1 billion. And so we're going to win this for these athletes. And we need them to just come in and sign up and get on board, and we'll handle everything from there. They have to do nothing else. Just same as the House class action, but this is just about football. Right. It's not all the other ones. These kids should not have to burden taking care of 50 other sports and 2,000 other athletes.
I get it. Mike Cline, founder of Postseason NIL. Thank you very much for your thoughts and for all the work that you're doing. And Jade?
You got it. Yes. You got it.
Jade, thank you for participating and listening. We appreciate it. And it's a fascinating story. I wish you well. I'm going to be following it. And
well, you got the breaking news, Mark. So
there you go.
We have a lot of interviews lining up for next week, so you'll hear it everywhere. It'll be national. It is a big deal. And you keep doing a good job of getting information out there. I follow you as much as you see me out there. And when I see that the reason why I accepted this, Mark's, because we do say a lot of the same things, right? Mm-hmm. And even though I disagree with you sometimes when you throw it, when you lump it in, and that's because you're thinking of the total bucket, and that's good. So people have to do that. But just for us, whenever you think about us, I am strictly football. And when you look at it that way, you'll understand that really is not those kids' concern, right? All that budget issue and the overall athletic department, that's not that 18-year-old that, can't even go buy a burger, right? And NIL, that last point, NIL itself is an opportunity for them to go get another job and another job, right? When they have 2 full-time jobs, they have football and they have college. Those are full-time jobs, right? And their one job they're generating $200 million a year. Why do they need to go get another job? Their job is making enough money that they don't need another job. They can concentrate on football and on academics and concentrate on managing that money properly, coming out of college where you got enough to transition into a profession or a skill or a business or a partnership and really get a good start on your life. That's
Great.
what we're trying to do for them. And
Awesome,
I appreciate
Mike.
it, Mark.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah. All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.